But the Khilafah is gone. Al-Azhar University responded. And that response is in this book, The Caliphate, the Hijaz, and the Saudi Wahhabi State. You need to go back to your history and refresh your memory. And Al-Azhar said, no, this is a part of Islam. You can't do without the Khilafah. This is a part of the religion. Al-Azhar University not only issued a fatwa, it quoted a hadith of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam in that fatwa. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim. It quoted it. Man mata, whosoever dies, walam yara fi unuqihi bay'a, without the obligation of bay'ah, of listening and obeying, the pledge of obedience, faqad mata maytatan jahiliya. Such a person dies a death of jahiliya, the death before Islam. Al-Azhar University quoted this hadith. So we must restore the Khilafah. Very good. How to do it? So let's organize a Mu'tamar al-Khilafah, a Caliphate conference. And so they're trying to organize now a Caliphate conference in Cairo, organized by Al-Azhar University. British diplomacy now enters into the field. Diabolically cunning British diplomacy to put pressure on all Muslim communities not to be part of this conference. German diplomacy, Russian diplomacy, all of them at work. Al-kufru millatun wahida. And so the most influential Muslim community in the world at that time, which was the Indian Muslim community. The Muslim community of India was the most influential Muslim community in the whole world, with the greatest and the most famous scholars of Islam in India. Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar, Maulana Shawkat Ali, Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi. These were men of commanding stature, commanding respect all over the world of Islam. And they decided to stay away from the Cairo conference. Yeah, this is British diplomacy at its work. The Shia say, we ain't coming to a Sunni conference. The Russian Muslim not allowed to come, the Chinese Muslim not allowed to come. So it ended up as only an Arab conference. That conference was held in the month of May 1926, and you'll read about the proceedings of that conference in this book. Please read this book. We have a few copies at the back. At the end of the conference, they decided, well, Caliphate should be restored, but we don't know how to do it. Because the political situation is such, we can't control Makkah and Medina. The Saudis control it. So let me take a rest, go back home, and come back next year. But at the same time that the Caliphate conference in Cairo was being organized for May and June 1926, British diplomacy worked with Abdulaziz ibn Saud to organize a rival conference in Mecca, rivaling the Caliphate conference. This is the credentials that the Wahhabis have of fidelity to Islam. Here is a conference which seeks to restore the Khilafah. And you organize a rival conference to undercut this one. And that one is timed to coincide with the Hajj. And British diplomacy and Russian diplomacy bring all the Muslim communities to come. So the Indian Muslim community is present in Mecca. This is July 1926. I think some of you were not born as yet. July 1926. It's a large conference. The Indians are there, the Russians are there, the Chinese are there, the Arabs are there, the Persians are there, the Africans are there. Grand conference. But strangely enough, the subject of the Khilafah is not an item on the agenda. What a monstrous betrayal of Islam. And now you want to train scholars of Islam to come to Trinidad to preach Islam to me? Huh? You have monstrously betrayed Islam, being part and parcel of an effort for the destruction of the Khilafah. And you want to establish institution of Islamic learning to train scholars of Islam to come and preach Islam to it? Now we are blind and we are stupid. No. The king now addressed the conference, Abdulaziz ibn Saud. And he said, well, listen, the reason why I invited all of you to come here is I want you to recognize my rule. I don't want you to wage war against me. I control the place now. And I want you to send all your money over here, because they didn't have oil yet. And I want you to recognize our neutrality. We ain't taking side and nobody fight. We're neutral, Saudi Arabia. Hey, but wait a minute, Mr. Abdulaziz ibn Saud. You're singing a different tune now. 2 years ago, when you took Makkah, you were singing a different tune. 2 years ago, Makkah, when your forces entered into Makkah, you issued a declaration to the world of Islam, and we have that declaration here in this book. 2 years ago, you said that we, the Saudi Wahhabis, recognize that this land, the Hijaz, belongs to the world of Islam. We have no authority to rule over this land. All the representatives of the Muslims from around the world must come together to establish the government for this land. That's what you said 2 years ago. And now you come to sing a different tune. This is the king, eh? When the king was finished with his address, everybody quiet. The leader of the Indian delegation. In those days, you had men who were men. Men of courage, like Haji Ruknuddin Rahimahullah. Today, you know what we have. Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar got up, and the place silent. You could hear a pin drop. And Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar looked at the king and told him, get lost. We will never do what you ask of us. Betray Islam. To recognize Saudi rule over this land. To recognize neutrality of this land. You ain't going to take sides in any conflict. No. Once that scholar of Islam stood up and spoke, nobody can say, Everybody quiet. Nobody dares to get up and disagree with him. What a people we had. 1924. And so the conference ended with a refusal of the request of the king. Yes. They decided that the conference must reconvene every year at the time of the Hajj, but it never came back again, because the Saudis had been put in their place. Once those two conferences ended in 1924, that was it. The world of Islam had tried to restore the Khilafah, and it could not be restored. And so since 1924, we do not have the Khilafah. And therefore we do not have the Jama'ah. What do we do when you do not have the Jama'ah and when you do not have the Khilafah? What do you do? I leave behind me two things. So long as you hold on to them, you will never go astray. The answer is, ittaqullaha mastata'atum. Fear Allah to the extent that you have capacity to do so. And so until such time as the Khilafah can be restored, and of course it's coming back. George Bush can't stop it. The Khilafah is coming back. That model of a state is going to be restored, which recognizes Allah as sovereign. Allah is Al-Akbar. which recognizes Allah's authority as supreme, which recognizes Allah's law as the highest law. That model of a state is coming back. When Allah made something haram, the state will ensure it is haram, illegal. And when Allah made something halal, the state will ensure that it's halal. That model of a state is coming back. But it cannot come back until we can liberate Mecca and recover the Hajj. Because you cannot have a Khalifa who does not control the Hajj. And you cannot liberate Mecca and recover control over the Hajj so long as Britain and the United States and Israel have military control over the world. But a tomorrow is coming, and this is the purpose of the Ansari Memorial Lectures, to explain to you the world today and to give you the capacity to recognize and to anticipate the world tomorrow. This is the purpose of the Ansari Memorial Lectures. If you missed any of the lectures, please try to get the audio tapes or the CDs or the DVDs of the previous lectures. We have them at the back. And please read Jerusalem in the Quran, because that book explains the world today and helps you to anticipate the world tomorrow. Until such time as the Khilafah is restored, what do we do? This is my opinion, and we have with us today scholars of Islam who are far more learned than I am. And they can also give their opinions. We have a question and answer period after the lecture is over. My opinion is that until such time as the Khilafah is restored, our foremost objective should be, how best can we hold on to Islam so we don't lose Islam? The time will come when a man, in order to preserve his religion, would have to flee to the mountainsides where rain falls and take with him some sheep and goats. Yes, said Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And so the war on Islam is going to be intensifying. And our objective must be to preserve the deen, preserve Islam. 50 years ago, you would hardly hear about Patrick Ali and Benjamin Mohammed, but now it's commonplace. Tony And when you say Salaam Alaikum, where's that? Where's that? Now it's commonplace. Every family is losing. You know it. Well, then when you see this unraveling taking place, when you see money being lent on interest, you know, Haji Ruknuddin, I told you the story. 50 years ago, had a fellow used to lend money on interest, Trinidad and Cuba. Haji Ruknuddin, rahimahullah, spoke to that man, told him, stop it. He refused. Haji Ruknuddin gave the order, no one is to eat food in that man's home. Everybody obeyed the order. That was yesterday. Today, money is being lent on interest, by deception of course, in the very compound of the masjid right here in Trinidad. Yeah. So when you see the religion disappearing, when you see people being trapped, deceived, وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يدخلون, is it